So we created a simple React application, but actually genuinely it was not a React application. It was only React in one page. Now we will build one application. For that, we are going to use a tool called, we are going to learn about bundlers. So to work with React application, you should know one important point. So what are bundlers? So this is one important point you need to know. What are bundlers? So what is the concept of bundler and how the bundler actually works? We need to understand that. So let's see how this works. Generally, bundler is a software tool used by programmers which helps programmers to build the environment according to his requirement. In our previous example, what we done is we created a project folder. We added files into it, public, SRC, everything we have done manually. What is the specialty of these bundler tools is they will create a project and environment for you. They will set up everything for you. You have to just start working with that environment. Everything manually you don't need to do. So they will provide some commands. By using those commands, you can build a project by predefined scaffolding technique. Scaffolding means nothing but developer asks what he wants and it will generate everything for him. So always it is recommended to use these bundlers. So React 19 onwards, we have to build project by using these bundling tools. So what is bundler actually? What is the bundler concept is? So it is a software tool. It is a software tool used by developers to build application and set up environment according to project requirements. Project requirements. So it is a software tool, and there are various bundling tools. Bundling tools like we have a famous bundling tool called Webpack. We have a tool called Parcel, and we have a tool like Wheat. These are some important bundling tools. So if you want to create a project, you want to set up environment for project without manually doing everything. So through commands, we can ask what we want. It will generate everything for us. And actually this process is called scaffolding. So that means what these tools will do is bundlers use a scaffolding technique. Bundlers use a scaffolding technique. So scaffolding is the process of generating files and folders according to the developer's requirements. That is scaffolding. Actually, this concept was introduced by Ruby, Ruby on Rails. Introduced scaffolding. This technology introduced scaffolding concept, and it is used everywhere. Java, .NET, all these technologies using a scaffolding technique. For example, you are using some editor and you said, I want a Java class file or I want a .NET ASP page. Then automatically it will generate one template for you. That process is called as scaffolding. We call that process as scaffold. So Webpack, Parcel, Wheat, these are different bundling tools. We can use these tools for building a project. And you see now here, suppose we have tools like, I will show you. This is Webpack. This is Webpack and it is a bundler. Webpack is a bundler. So this is a tool used for building projects. Actually, 2 years back, React means we used to build by using Webpack. But now we are not using Webpack. React officially recommends to use Wheat. Wheat is a bundler. So we can use that Wheat bundler and we can build a project. We can use this also. Majority of web applications are built by using these bundlers. We have Webpack, we have bundler called Parcel. So this is Parcel JS. This is another bundling tool. That means it is going to build a complete environment according to your requirement. So what we are going to use is Wheat. So Wheat is a bundler. This is what we are going to use. So by using this tool, we are going to build the projects. So React 19 onwards, we prefer using this Wheat. Earlier, for your previous batches, when we trained React, we used to train them on Webpack only. But from past 1 year, from 19 version onwards, officially we are using Wheat. Any tool is same, some features will be changing. Some features will be changing. Project will be same. Your React project, any bundler, it is same. Every bundler have some facilities that will make convenient in creating some environments. So Wheat is good for creating a project. So which tool we are using? Wheat. So let's see how. That means by using Wheat, how to build a React project, we will see now. So we are learning create a new React app using Wheat bundler. How to create a new React application using Wheat bundler. So let's see how to do that. To do this, make sure that all the previous environment is set up. Like what Node.js must be installed on your computer. VS Code is compulsory. Extensions, all that is mandatory. Now what you have to do is to create a application. First point is open any folder location. Open any location on your PC. Any location from a terminal, or you can use command prompt. Open any location from terminal or command prompt. And here we have to create, so run the following command. You have to run the command. npm create wheat at the net latest. That's the command you have to run. And you have to mention app name. So npm create wheat latest and the app name. This command will run only if Node.js is correctly installed and latest version of Node.js is installed. So you have to open any location. For example, I'm opening Visual Studio Code, and in this, suppose I open a folder location. Suppose I have documents open. Okay. You can see this is my PC location where I have so many projects. Now, what I will do is here, open terminal. If you are using Windows operating system, command prompt you can open in any drive, C drive, D drive, any location. So here, what we have to do is npm and create wheat at the net latest. And you have to define app name. I will give as React app, some name. So React demo app, some name, any name for your app. Okay. So once you give this and hit enter, it will prompt some options like which framework you want. Vanilla, Vue, React. So many frameworks are there. Which one you want? React. We have to select React. After that, it will ask language. Which language you want? TypeScript, JavaScript, TypeScript combination. So many there. Currently, you have to select JavaScript. Select variant JavaScript. So once you select this TypeScript, later after we finish with JavaScript, we will see. And once you select with JavaScript, it will ask, we have a experimental library called roll down. Do you want it? It is still under beta version. It is not finalized. So we will not try that. That is a good one for future, but currently still under trials. So no need to use this. So make sure that you have no. By default, it is no. Already they given experimental it is, right? Now when I hit enter, it will ask, do you want to install all the required libraries? Actually, just 1-2 months back, it was not that. So 1-2 months back, what used to happen is it creates your folder. After creating the folder, you have to change to folder and install all the libraries. But now recently they changed it. What you can do while creating project itself, you can install all library. It is asking that do you want to install with npm? Yes. Means what it will install? Three libraries we need. What are those? React, React DOM, Babel. All these three libraries it will install. Even today on YouTube channels or websites which are uploaded 3-4 months back, some tutorials and all, you will see a different process. But now it is changed. What is different process is a folder is created. After that, change into folder. From there, we have to install. But now it will install everything from outside. You don't need to do anything. Just you need to select. You say yes. Automatically, it is going to install all the libraries required for the project. It is going to install all the dependencies. It is ready now. So actually, it is ready and your project is running also. Your project starts automatically. But we will stop this. Control C will stop the execution of project. So first we will create a project. So here you need to choose options. Select framework. So it says React. Select variant. So that is JavaScript. Experimental rollout. So no. Install dependencies. So you need to set yes. So one simple note, project starts automatically after installing. So you can terminate using Control C. Why? Because how the project starts, I will show you. Manually, we'll see that. Because we need to understand the environment, how it actually looks like, works, and all. So your project is ready. Next step, what we have to do is open project folder in Visual Studio Code. Separately, you open it. It will be easy to work. Open project folder in Visual Studio Code after you created the project. So after the project is created, you just go to Visual Studio Code and open the project folder. We have a file open folder I created in my documents. So React demo na, huh? Down, yeah. Demo app. This is the project we created folder. This is the project folder, and see the environment. Almost everything we know inside it. Only few options are new. So actually, this I showed you how to manually create, because see, when a developer is working in a project, he knows what file systems he needs. And if you attended our previous sessions, I showed you clearly how to add these files. And now I don't need to explain many of these files because you know exactly what they are. Can you tell me what is node modules? We got this node modules after installing Bootstrap, na? So node modules is a folder where all the library files are kept. CSS, JavaScript, all libraries that you install for this project. All the library files are present in that node modules. What is public? Public contains all static resources. Remember, static resources means HTML pages, images, documents, videos, all these are present in public. All dynamic resources are kept in SRC. JavaScript, TypeScript, CSS, all these are present in this. Git ignore is required when you are connecting project with GitHub. Later I will show you. And very important is ESLint config.js. It is JavaScript language analysis tool. When you are using JavaScript in any project, we have to follow some JavaScript language rules. According to rules, we have to write. Because see, when you are working in project, problem is You people learn a language from different places. That means from different sources, you learn a language and you will go to a company and you start working in the company. Now, what is problem is one person comes from Delhi, another person comes from Mumbai, another from Chennai. He learned somewhere Java or .NET or something. Everybody have his own idea to put in the project. Then it will mess up the project. That means we don't want developers to show up their skills. We want all developers to follow the same standards. That means, for example, you have written a string in double quote, another person written in single quote. Both are valid. That's lot of inconsistency in program. Because in one project, many people are working and everybody has his own idea. That's not good. What is the purpose of this file is it sets rules for JavaScript. When we are using JavaScript, it will set the rules for JavaScript. That
Hmm.
means which module system to use, which version of JavaScript to use, everything is defined inside this file. For example, we are saying that we are using JavaScript for this React project. If anyone asks which version of JavaScript, because what is the latest version of JavaScript? ES16. ES16 is the latest version, but companies are still using ES6 or 7. ES16 is 2025 latest version. ES16, that is the latest version of JavaScript, but companies are still using ES6, ES7. So now in interviews, they ask like, okay, you are using JavaScript in this project. How you decide which version JavaScript to use? Where you mention the version of JavaScript to use. That is all done here. You remembered in last session I told you JavaScript have different module systems. We are using UMD na. How we know that we have to use UMD? That is defined here. Which module system to use, which version to use, all the JavaScript related language rules and language configuration is defined inside this ES lint. You know, as a programmer, lint means language analysis tool. Java lint, JavaScript lint. So, for example, I told you na previously, like if you are learning Java or .NET or other technologies, how to know the rules of your language? To know the rules of your language, suppose you have a PMD. PMD is a code analyzing tool. This is a code analyzer. PMD, Sonar, these are code analyzer. Suppose you are a Java developer, .NET developer, or Node.js or some JavaScript developer. You cannot write code in real-time projects with your skills, what you learnt in your institute. While learning, training, they tell you some shortcuts, they tell you some tricks. Those you cannot put them in real-time projects. You have to follow rules. I showed actually, right? You see, there is a rule reference. In the rule reference, Java rules, JavaScript rules, all will be there. So, like this, JavaScript related rules are defined by one language analysis tool. And what is that language analysis tool? ESLint. ESLint. So, this ESLint is that language analysis tool. So, we have a node modules, public, src, git ignore, and ESLint. Index is startup page na. Package JSON already I told you this is metadata. I showed you how to generate this file manually. Huh? Right. README I told you. What is README? README is a help document designed by developer for other developers. How to use the project, how to run the project, what resources, where we kept, everything is present inside the README. So out of these, all of them, majority we created manually. In our previous class, I manually added them. Extra, you will see here one file is ESLint, another one is wheat config. Wheat config is nothing but bundler config. Bundler config means currently our project is using React library. If your project have to use some other libraries, like it should use a testing framework. For testing our application, we need a testing framework. For server side programming, we need some server side framework like Next.js. Then all such connections for our project with other libraries and frameworks are defined in this file, wheatconfig.js. So in your project, already you are using React. That is for front end. For back end, you want to use a separate framework. For testing, you want to use a separate framework. Then you can install them. After installing, they don't work. We have to connect them with our React app. All such connections are defined inside Vite. You can see here, for example, I will show you. When we open, this ESLint, you can see in ESLint, it will show you some settings. It will show you some settings related to ESLint. You see, it is using 2020 version of JavaScript. Understood? But latest version is 2025. So it is using, that means, JavaScript versions. ES6 means 2016. ES7 means 2017. ES8 means 2018. 2019, 9. This means ES10. It is using ES10. Latest version is ES16. ES16 is very latest of JavaScript. And that was in November of this year, 2025. They released the latest version of JavaScript. But point is, companies are not using them. But this is okay. Whatever default version it gives, you can use it. But in companies, they insist to use older version. That means in companies, they say that no, we don't want 2020, we want 2017 or 2016. We need to set up that. And remember, when you set up and you try to use some new features, it will show warning saying that these features are not available in the version you define. So you need to use only the old features according to which version you have set. So better always keep the default version, whatever available. Okay. Now, later you will learn so many others. That means so many rules will be there. You can write the rules for JavaScript. How, I will explain at the end, because that you can do after learning the complete language, right? What rules, how to write rules and everything. Okay. One more is Vite config. You see, in this already one plugin is connected. By default, it is using a React plugin. So that means our project is using React. Later, if you want to use Next.js, what is Next.js? A server-side framework for React. You want to use some testing framework, all those plugins must be written here. It is an array type, na? That means it will allow multiple plugins. You can connect them and you can use. So that is required with Vite config file. So only two files are extra, na? One is ESLint, another one Vite. Others we created by ourselves manually. Yeah? So I will give a file system infrastructure. You should know about that. So React application file structure. Application file structure. So we have a file or folder and we have description. The file, folder and the description, what it is. First, you can see node modules. It comprises of all dependencies. It comprises of all dependencies, or you can say all files related to dependencies. Next, we have a public folder. It comprises of static resources like HTML, images, docs, etc. SRC, so it comprises of dynamic resources like you have CSS, SCSS. SCSS is SAS, TypeScript, JavaScript, like that. So public SRC. Another important, git ignore. It configures the files to ignore while publishing onto Git. So that is git ignore. We have eslint.config.js. It is JavaScript language analysis. Analysis tool. It sets rules for JavaScript in current project. That is language analysis tool. Package.json. It comprises of project metadata. It defines dependencies and their versions. And what is the point is, developer can change the versions in design. Developer can change the versions in design. So in package JSON, it will set up all the versions for packages you are using. Those versions developer can change while designing. That means Bootstrap we installed. By the time we installed, it was 4. Later it changed to 5. What developer can do? He can come here and change the version. But what happens is, while designing, we can allow this. But once design is completed, once it is published, that means it goes to production. When it goes to production means your application is live. There we don't use package JSON. There we use a file called package lock JSON. What is that package lock JSON is? their versions of every package is fixed. You cannot modify that. That means in the production level, they can just use your application. They cannot modify the versions or anything. So package JSON is for development and package lock JSON is for production. So developers cannot modify anything in package lock JSON, right? So there is another file given for the same purpose. What is it? Package.lock.json. It is used for production. It cannot be modified. It is used for production and cannot be modified. Right. Another important in the files you have readme readme.md. It is a help document by developers for developers. Wheat.config.js. It is bundler configuration. So you can plug in external frameworks and libraries to project. You can plug in external frameworks and libraries for project. And one more file, index.html. It is startup page. It is startup page. So whenever we create a project, we need to know the environment of our project. Why these files are present, what we can do with these files and folders, where which one need to be kept. Remember, this file system is strongly designed. Means if any file is misplaced, it will not work in your project. That means, for example, you created a new folder and you kept one file and you are trying to use the file in your project. It will not work. It should be exactly in the same folders where the project recommends. Suppose I want images. I can put images anywhere I want, but they don't work. They will work only when they are inside public. You have to keep in public only. JavaScript files I can put anywhere I want, but they don't work. You have to keep them in SRs. These locations are mandatory. You cannot mismatch the content. That's very important. Now, once you know the project environment, now the question is how project actually starts, how the project is going to start. The flow I will show you how the project is going to start. So actually, this project environment, several levels are present. I will show you. See. So what is the project environment? How it actually works is, see, right. So in this environment here, let's take a new one, right? Now observe, generally we are having a browser. Browser is the location from where we need to access the app. So this is browser. Okay, from first, I'm showing you an outline high level design. Later, we will go in depth about that. So, we have a browser, and here we need to watch our application. Actually, you created a React app. You created a React app here. This React app, how it actually works is, in this React application, you have a index.html page. Am I right? So it is having index.html page. What happens is, this index.html page, inside it, what is present you already know. Inside index.html page, what is present you already know. Can you tell two main components in index.html? One is no script. Am I right? Another one is div with an id called root. That is what present in index na. Let's observe. Here you see in the project we have index.html, and you can see it is having that. This is having div id with root. Why no script is not there? Because actually that is already verified in those settings. ESLint config is there na? In that they already verify whether JavaScript is enabled or not. So they don't need to write, but actually better to keep that option there. Because if JavaScript is disabled, it will not work na. Right. So now see here in this extra, you will see there is a main.jsx na. So what happens is, you know the hierarchy, how it works. In this index page, there is another page linked. So that is main.jsx. And actually, you know that main is entry point na? Main is entry point. Do you know what is inside the main? Actually, here what is present is, I will just give roughly. Here there is a div with an ID called root. Okay. Now what is inside the main.jsx is this also, you can tell me. You can guess what may be inside this. Into this root, we have to create a virtual DOM and render. Na? Right? We have to create a virtual DOM and render. That logic is not present. That logic is not present in the page anywhere. It is not present anywhere here. Na? Then that logic might be inside this file. Right? Main.jsx. So in main.jsx, what is present? I hope you can tell. There will be a const what? Root. So what is it? React DOM dot create root. Am I right? So here it will use document get element by ID. What is it? Root. It will use that root element there. Actually, this is present inside the main dot. Yeah. And one more important is, you can have a, this is another one is root dot render na. So we will have a root dot which one? Render. Root dot render. Actually, this render is rendering some app. You know what it is? You know what is app? It is a component na. That means there might be a separate component design. That means there will be a separate component, and you know how a component looks like. Actually, there is another file called app.jsx. Understood? This app.jsx is nothing but, actually, this app.jsx is, it's a component file. So if it is a component file, you know what will happen inside this file. What will happen inside the file? It will have a function app. Am I right? And it will return some markup. So this is present inside this. That means here a design is created and this design is rendered into virtual DOM. Am I right? And that virtual DOM is updated into actual DOM and actual DOM is displayed into the browser. So this your app is working. Actually, this React app is working on a specific address http colon double slash localhost. So it uses a port number. By default, port number is 5. So localhost 5173. That is the default port number. 5173. That number we can change, it can change situation wise. Huh? That means from browser, if you request this, your React app is running in that particular port number. If you request this, automatically which page will come? Index. Index will load which one? Main.js. Main will render which component? App. App.component. So where I can expect these files? In which folder? SRC na? It is in SRC folder these files are present, right? Observe carefully now here. We will start the project. How to start the project is you should not run this page individually because it's a complete project environment. You have to compile, debug and run. How to run the project is to start your project after the file system you found. To start the project, you have to run the command. So run following command from terminal to start project. You have to run the command npm run dev. Npm run dev. It runs your project in development mode, in development environment. Npm run dev. It runs the project in development environment. So automatically the project starts in this particular port number. So http colon double slash localhost 5173. That is the default port number for every React app. We can change the port numbers and all later. By default in every device it will be same. So see now, I will open the terminal. Yeah. In the terminal, I will run the command npm run, what is it? Dev. You see, it says it is started on this particular port number. So what you do is open any browser and request that port number. Localhost 5173. Automatically this page will come. That means this is the home page of your React app. But remember, the current page you are watching is index. But in index page, they haven't designed all this. All this is designed in which location? This is coming from which place? App component, na? App component is the startup component. It is coming from app component. Let's go to the main.jsx. In SRC, we have main.jsx. You see in main.jsx, create root, get element by ID into that render what? App. Same thing, na? Same concept. Additionally, some points are there. We will learn about them. No need to explain. Actually, you learned JavaScript, how to turn on strict mode. JavaScript turn on strict mode. You have to turn on using use strict. Use strict is used to turn on strict mode. If you don't turn on JavaScript strict mode while using JavaScript, it will allow developers to violate the programming standards. Without following standards, you write some code, it will work. We don't want that. Then always turn on which mode? Strict. Strict mode is always on. Later, I will explain more other details also, but actually it is creating root and it is rendering into the root. Now, where is this file? This file is app.jsx. You see, it is a function. It is a function. And you see in the function, it has so many things. I will delete them. It is returning a fragment, right? I will delete all this, what it is returning. And I will keep just our own simple fragment. And I will put a heading, some welcome to React 19, like this I kept. When I save whatever I modified inside this component, automatically the home page changes, right? And why it is in the center, that is because of CSS. It may be using some styles and all. We will learn how to set up all the styles. But this is the startup component. That means our application starts with this location. That means whenever you request any React app, what is the flow? Whenever you request a React application, first it loads index.html. After that, it will load main. What main will do? It will create a virtual DOM and render a component into virtual DOM and update that into the actual DOM. This all process we manually done earlier. Right? In our previous class, I showed you how to do all this manually. We created our root elements, but now everything is designed. Now the concept is you can remove app and you can design your own component. Like you want a login Netflix. Last session we designed Netflix. Same we will try to create here also. We will understand how the process actually works. So point is the basic flow. I will give you the basic point here. So React application flow. This is high level because low level means internally so much will happen that later you will learn how internally everything happens. Initially, first step, what happens is client requests React application from browser. Client requests React application from browser. So it will be like this: HTTP colon localhost 5173. Client requests React application from browser using this. Actually, do you know what happens? Means more detail about questions how they ask in interviews at experience level is when client makes a request for your app like this. Actually, this request will first come to a server. Actually, this request will come to a server. We call it as web server. That flow later I will explain how internally process happens. But one point you should know, generally, when first time client request anything from server, we said that browser will load which file? Index.html. So if anyone asks you like, so in browser, you see I'm using browser. In the browser address bar, this is a text box. Na? In the text box, I'm typing www.amazon.in. I finished typing. Why it is not loading? We have to press enter. When I press enter, some event may fire up. That event will request this page and load na. What is that event? That means in interviews they ask a question on which event HTML pages will load in browser. It's not click. So generally, whenever you request any HTML page or any page, a web page loads in browser, a web page loads into browser on an event called DOM content loaded. This is an event. On this event, the pages are loaded on your browser. If user requests any HTML page, any Java, JSP, PHP, ASP, any page is loaded into browser on an event called DOM content load. On this event, the page will load. That means actually you can see that. See, I will open right click. So I will open first Google or something, and you right click and go to inspect. And in the inspect, you go to network category. There is a network category. Keep the network open and you request any page. www.amazon.in. Now you can see that it is loading and see the event is ready here. You can see at the bottom it shows DOM content loaded. Am I right? You can see it shows DOM content loaded. That is the event. DOM content loaded. That means on this event, it is loading this entire content in your page. In your browser, it is showing. So any HTML page you open in browser, it will first load on an event called DOM content loaded. So the content is loaded into your browser. Okay. After loading the content into browser, now first what happens is the response will come from this one. So yeah, the response will come from this page. From this page, a response will come. Do you know what happens is first time when index page loads, it is going to load inside the browser. It loads a static DOM. It loads the static DOM. That means your request from browser index will load. When any page loads, it will not be immediately dynamic. Suppose you are using some JavaScript in HTML, where first HTML will load. After that, JavaScript will load. You know this? That means first static DOM will load. After loading the static DOM, what will happen? The main will load. Na? This main will make the static DOM into dynamic. It will take control of the static DOM and it will convert the static into dynamic. Dynamic means now it starts responding with us. That means what will happen now? You make a request, it loads the page, but first it loads static DOM. After loading static DOM, then what will happen is it is going to load the main. Am I right? It is going to load the main. Main will load all the required libraries. It will load all the required libraries and it is going to send render back to the main, this app component. Am I right? Right. And this is going to update. This is going to update the static DOM. And this is going to update the static DOM and convert the static DOM into which one? Dynamic DOM. This is going to convert into dynamic DOM. It converts into dynamic DOM. Now your application starts working. So a static DOM will not work. It is just one button is there, but it's not responding. One text box is there, but it is not responding. That happens when we convert into dynamic. This is the basic flow. This diagram I will upload into class group, right? So, but you need to understand the flow. When client request, what happens is browser browser loads index.html using DOM content loaded event. Browser loads index.html using DOM content loaded event. What will happen is index.html loads static DOM. Index.html loads static DOM into browser. After that, it loads all dependencies from main.jsx. It loads all dependencies from main.jsx. All dependencies from main.jsx. Actually, in main.jsx, React, DOM, Babel, all are linked. All those libraries are configured. That means it is going to load all the dependencies. And you see, actually, in the main.jsx file, actually you see React is imported at the top. React, DOM, those libraries are already added. So technically it loads all the dependencies. After that, one more thing happen. It creates a virtual DOM by using create root method. It creates a virtual DOM by using create root. And what it does is it renders app component into virtual DOM. App component into virtual DOM. App.jsx. App component is updated into actual DOM. It is updated into actual DOM. That means actually it is rendered into actual DOM. Static DOM is transformed into dynamic DOM. This is the process. Static DOM is transformed into dynamic DOM. So once the static DOM is converted into dynamic DOM, now it starts working. And this process is called as bootstrapping. The process of converting static DOM into dynamic DOM is known as bootstrapping. We call this process as bootstrapping. Bootstrap is different, bootstrapping is different. So bootstrapping is the process of converting the static DOM into dynamic DOM. So how the static is converted into dynamic? This is the basic outline process. I hope everyone understood. So you create a project, go to app file, make some changes and see the output. That is enough what you have to do. That is enough for today. Now in next session, what we are going to do, we are going to learn how to create our own components. How to create our own components and build a interface. We will take one real-time example. We will try to build that interface. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue. Yeah, please first let the girls leave, right? Boys.